Alright, we're getting ready to leave Wilmington, North Carolina. I'll keep turning on every now and then. HD's anxious. He's ready to go. And so we're just gonna head on down the road. Hoping I got everything. I think I do. It's a nice sunny day. It's cool. It's about 49 degrees. So we'll see how it goes. Full tank of gas will get me...
In 3/4 of a mile, turn right on Market Street.
And my GPS is very loud because it has to be when I'm up to speed. Because you know these big shuttle buses, they creak, pop, crack, squeak. So this is the neighborhood we're leaving, Crestwood neighborhood. This is where the new house is. The condo owner sold her condo and bought a house specifically for Grunt. Grunt has now got a big backyard. He's in hog heaven. Alright, we're coming up to a major road, which is Market Street. So I'm going to shut you off here. That's a long, long train. Pickens, South Carolina. Getting kind of close. All these people are waiting to turn. Watching this train for 10 minutes, and it's been going faster than I am, so it's a long train. Cargo train mainly by looks. Containers. There's some tractor trailer. Boy, it goes right into the middle of town here. I think this is Pickens. I'm not sure. I know we're in Pickens County. I'm looking to see if there's any stores named after the town. I've got 6.8 miles to go. You can't hear it, but it's the wheels are squealing like crazy on the rail. Oh, and there goes it's heading off. Might catch up with it again, who knows. The American Wanderer here. We're here in Pickens, South Carolina with Ken at Garvin Gardens. We're going to do a little gold panning, see if we can find anything. This dirt has come from Alaska. It's black sand, actually. And we should find a little bit of flakes here and there, or flour as they call it. We'll see. So stay tuned.
Good morning, I'm Ken from Garvin Gardens, and I'm going to show you basically panning 101. My son and I went to Alaska in 1997. And we brought back about 100 pounds of black sand off the beach in Nome, Alaska. So we'll get right to it. Now, one of the first things you should know when you're panning for gold is don't use a metal pan. If you have a metal pan, you have to toss it in a campfire and let it burn for a little while. And it doesn't matter, the rustier your pan is, the better it is to pan with. Because when a gold pan is made on a punch press, they have to grease the metal to keep it from sticking to the inside of the punch press. So any grease that's in the metal is going to make the gold float right out of your pan. Just as easy as anything. Another thing, when you're panning, if you're panning in a tub like this in a creek, if you're panning in a slow area in a creek, you don't really have to worry about this. But just put a couple drops of soap, liquid soap, any kind, doesn't matter what kind it is, but it'll break the surface tension of the water and keep the gold from floating out. Yes, gold will float if you give it the opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little of our black sand that's mixed with brown sand, put it in here. Now these ridges in the pan, whether it's the black pan or the green one, they're designed to catch the gold, to keep the gold from sliding out from underneath the black sand. And you have to keep in mind that gold is very heavy. Gold is 6 times heavier than lead per volume. So if you can put some, you're learning how to pan, put a couple BBs in your pan. And if you can pan your dirt out and keep the BBs in there, put like 4 or 5 BBs in. And if you can pan the brown sand out and keep the BBs in your pan, then you'll be able to keep the gold in your pan, because the gold's 6 times heavier than the lead. Get a water in your pan. Don't fill your pan full of water. Now, when you're working in the creek, you're going to have little stones and mud and stuff like that, and you just take your pan, dip it under the water, shake it a little bit. You don't have to shake it much, and that gold will go right to the bottom of the black sand. Then you bring your pan up to allow the brown sand to basically erode off the edge of the pan. So when you're panning, you want to keep your pan agitating and tilt your pan up just a little teeny bit, and you'll see that brown sand go out. Then just erode the brown sand with a little bit of water. You don't have to worry too much, because your gold is down underneath that black sand. And then you peel it back, get it all back down in the bottom of the pan. Bring it up and erode off that brown sand. And you just keep doing it until you work it down to where you have very little sand in your pan. And like I say, you don't have to worry too much, because the gold is actually down underneath that black sand, because it's heavier than the black sand. Swirl it around. And you don't want to do this in a, standing in the middle of the creek. You want to get to the edge of the creek where the water is quiet and it's not going to be swishing through your pan. You get it down to a manageable amount of black sand. You bring your pan up to let the brown sand erode off. And then we'll just take a look here and see if we see anything to start with. And you just work the water, just a little bit of water in your pan, Now your gold is going to be in this ridge right here. If you have some nuggets or pickers, they'll probably end up back here because they're heavier and it's just going to end up there. You'll see it real fast. And I'll show you another trick in a minute if I see anything in here. Okay, I do see one speck right there.
Bring it up to the camera a little bit. Point to it again. Oh yeah, you can take it out.
There's a speck of gold right there, right on the edge of that black sand.
Yep, I can see it.
And see, that's typical of the size of gold. See, it moved over here now. I'm going to go ahead and suck that up into a bottle so I don't lose it. And there it is in the bottle. Now the trick about this bottle is that tube does not go all the way down. That tube only comes down to about here, so that when you turn your bottle back up, that gold isn't going to run back down the tube back into the pan or in the creek or anything like that. Okay, let's see what else we find in this. But this dirt actually came out of a red ruby layer. Oh, I thought I saw a piece of wire gold, but maybe not. A lot of people can pan faster than I can. Most people can. But there's another trick you can do too. You got everything down here under the water. Tap on the edge of your pan, and if there's any gold in there, it'll actually climb up the side of the pan like the black sand just did. Let me get some more water here. Oh, there's a nice piece. Hang on just 1 second, I think.
Is that a big piece of gold or is that rock?
Well, it could be a piece of gold stuck in a piece of rock. And that's what it is.
Yeah, I can see it. Little tiny piece of gold in there.
Yep. Okay, so we'll capture that one. Well, that would be considered a picker, because you can actually pick it up with your fingers. Drop it in your bottle and you got it there for forever.
Well, for that little bit of sand, that's pretty good count.
Yeah.
So that beach has probably got lots and lots of gold in it.
Could very well be. The green pan is the best one to pan with, because the gold really shows up good in the green pan, and the green pan also has deeper ridges in it so that the gold will get stuck in here instead of sliding out. But it's kind of big for this little tub, but we'll try it anyway. Let's see if we got anything else in here. It's a hobby you have to really enjoy. At one time, South Carolina was the largest gold producing state east of the Mississippi. That was back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And you can see how I'm working it down. If there's any gold in there, it's trapped in those ridges, and it can't come out because it's too heavy. And you'd be amazed at where you can find gold. Gold is every place. Like one wise man, Buzzard Massey, says gold is like a bear. It's wherever you might find it. Okay, so I've got that down to a real good amount of sand here. Yeah, I can see there's gold in there, but it's just too small to chase. Get these sticks out of the way here. There's a little piece right there. I just moved it with the motion of the water. I don't know if you can see it moving or not, but this is not typical of the size of gold you're going to find in a creek. This has been ground and ground and ground at the bottom of the ocean until it got washed up. But in creek you'll find flakes and pickers, and if you're lucky you'll find a couple nuggets. Anyway, that's how to pan gold. And you know, you want to make sure that your pan has no grease on it. Don't ever use it to make soup in or mix, you know, you don't use it for any kind of cooking utensil whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to try another pan. And this is our black sand here that come back from Alaska with us. We'll just put, you don't want to put a whole bunch of material in your pan at one time. And you can see the stuff floating on top of the water. Well, one drop of any kind of liquid dish soap will make all that disappear. It breaks the surface tension of the water so your gold does not float on top of the water. Then you work your pan around. And a lot of people say, well, where can you get a pan? I've been to Walmart, haven't seen them. Or, now find a rock shop, a gemstone shop. They have them. And don't waste your money buying a bag of sand to pan, because the bags of sand have been salted. They put the gold in it that they want you to have. And you might spend $150 for a bag of sand and get less than a penny's worth of gold out of it. So, that's what they call mining the miners. Now with this green pan, any gold that's caught in the pan will be caught behind these ridges. And any gold that's in there has already gone to the bottom, so I can slough off some of this upper layer, get it down to a more manageable amount. And see, when you go out to a creek, we used to have a dredge, a 4-inch dredge that actually floated on the water on pontoons. And we'd work all day running that machine. And at the end of the day, you got all your black sand. Well, you take your black sand home and just stick it in your garage, stick it down in your basement in a bucket. And then when it gets to be wintertime out and it's too cold to go out in the creek, you get down in the basement, you get your bucket of black sand, and you pan it out. So, usually do a preliminary pan on your behind your machine so that you can tell if you got any big stuff in there to start with. All right, let's peel this back and see what we might have in here. I got too much water. Okay.
I'm going to stop temporarily until you find some, because I don't want to be getting over